Right, you guys, budget shoe battle coming up here between two of my favorite shoes on this channel. And we're gonna start it off right away. Both shoes under $100 MSRP. That is not a sale price. Like there are some shoes out there that you can get really good deal on just under $100 from Asics, Nike, Brooks, Adidas, so on and so forth. But these are, their regular prices are at $100 or less. So we're gonna start it off with this shoe right here, the Reebok Floatride Energy 3.0, and we're gonna have it go up against this shoe right here, the Nike Winflo 7. Fan favorite on my page. A lot of people love this shoe, and I am, for one, a supporter of this particular shoe, commonly overlooked shoe. But we're gonna get into what makes one maybe better than the other and which one you should spend your hard-earned earth credits on, as some other YouTubers would say. So we're gonna start off with the the Floatride Energy 3.0 right here. And a couple of things that I love about it. I love the upper here. It's got excellent lockdown. It's got a really nice toe box area. It's not too wide, it's not too narrow. It's just right, has just this really comfortable feel to the upper on the shoe, and some nice padding. I love that heel flare that's right back here. Doesn't cause any irritation, but just some decent padding back here, and your heel locks down really, really well to this shoe. It's just, when you put your foot in, it's super comfortable, it's super breathable. I love this nice mesh upper that's here. And it's built with some really good quality materials, and you can feel that. You can feel that in the shoe. You can feel it just all over the place. If you haven't seen my video on this shoe, link will be in the description below. But this is a fantastic daily trainer type of shoe, and the upper is just a phenomenal upper. And of course, I love the color of it. Just looks very racy, very flashy. Just love that color on it. Now, comparing it to the Nike Winflo 7's upper, also a very good upper here. It's very solid upper. It's still very breathable. It's got a nice, mesh upper, very breathable. It's got a similarly padded tongue. When I actually feel the two shoes up against each other, yeah, okay. The tongues are very similarly padded. I can definitely feel that. The differences between them are the Winflo. Okay, all right. Winflo is a little bit more of a gusseted tongue. Both are semi-gusseted, but the Winflo attaches a little bit higher up on the tongue than on the Floatride Energy, which is a good thing. I like gusseted tongues. They just provide a little bit better lockdown to me than just a regular tongue. But both have that heel flare right in the back. This is very common on a lot of newer shoes. A lot of newer shoes have this like heel flare on it, and both are just super comfortable. Both have about the same amount of padding around the heel collar. It's very interesting between the two. Although I will say the Winflo's, the Winflo's heel clip is a little bit more solid. It's a little bit more solid, particularly when you get closer to this base right here. It's a lot more solid right here. So it's pretty stout design here, where if you go over to the, yeah, you see that? Okay. So if you're looking for something with a little bit more stability to it, then I would probably go with the Winflo than the Floatride Energy when it comes to this upper is concerned. But the Winflo still has a really, really good lockdown. It's super comfortable. It feels just almost like nothing on your foot. Very similar uppers with each other as far as the lockdown is concerned. The Winflo is a little bit wider of a toe box than what you get here with the Floatride Energy. So if you are going on a longer run and you need to splay your toes out a little bit, you probably want to go with the Winflo over the Floatride Energy. But giving it a score, which one I would pick more? I mean, by a hair, by an absolute hair, because they're just so close to me, I'd go with the Floatride Energy's upper. I think the lockdown is just that little bit better. It's a little bit more secure. The toe box area is just nicely fit, both in like volume and height and width. It just feels better. Both shoes true to size. It just feels a little bit more secure. You just feel like you have a little bit better lockdown in this shoe. So I'm gonna give the nod just by a hair. And I mean, if I had to put a score on it, it would have to be like 0.1 of a point between these two shoes. I mean, it's that close. But just a slight edge to the Floatride Energy 3.0. Moving on to the midsole. Floatride Energy 3.0 is using a Floatride Energy foam. It is not a Pebax foam, just to let everybody know. It is not a Pebax foam. It is a, how did they describe it? A steam molded TPU midsole foam. So it's basically like these little tiny beads, kind of like what you get with Boost, with Adidas Boost. But a little bit smaller beads, a little bit more tightly packed kind of midsole. So that being said, a little bit more responsive. It's when you do the durometer test here, okay, so we're gonna do the little durometer test, all right? So going up, okay, you can see, all right, pretty squishy. We're up in the toe box area, nice squish to it. It's really not bad, but you can just feel it when you're pushing on it that it's a little bit on the firmer side. And this is, again, after 30 miles. It's a little bit on the firmer side. That being said, if you're looking for a shoe that has a lot of energy return and just something maybe a little bit snappier but still absorb a lot of impact, this is a fantastic shoe to go with. It's just got a really nice midsole, and it's going to be incredibly durable. That's the other thing, is a durable midsole as well. Moving over to the Nike Winflo 7, this is using a Cushlon, which is what was used in the Pegasus 35 and 36 models. It was also used in the Winflo 5, Winflo 6, and now in the Winflo 7. So it's the same type of midsole, but it has been updated. This midsole material has been updated to be a little bit softer, a little bit squishier than previous versions of it. That being said, Cushlon is also, if we go on the durometer test here, so we'll go looking at that, you can see nice and squishy there. Going up to the forefoot area, oh yeah, look at that. Yeah, a lot of squishiness on this midsole. Now, I do want to point out that this is a 19 mil in the forefoot. Let me switch over to this side. 19 mil in the forefoot, 29 in the rear, making a 10 millimeter drop. Now, this one, Reebok doesn't really give a whole lot of specs on this particular shoe, but it is a 9 millimeter drop. Negligible. Probably not going to notice a difference when you step your foot into it, but it's a 9 millimeter drop, and my guess would be that it's either a 15 or a 16 in the forefoot, and that being said, probably about a 24, 25 millimeter in the heel. So a little bit lower stack height than what you get in the Winflo 7, but this is where the two shoes differentiate from each other. This is a shoe that I would hands down wear anything less than maybe a 10K, okay? You could probably take it, you know, half marathon distance, but it's definitely comfortable 10K or less. For me, right at about 4.5, 5 miles is where my feet just kind of become uncomfortable in this shoe for the long run. But that being said, also has a lot more energy return, a lot more bounce to it, so it's a little bit quicker on your feet. So that has to be taken into consideration as well between these two shoes. So this shoe, more of a short to medium range shoe, where the Winflo is definitely aimed more toward the long run. between the cushion and the air zoom units, by the way, didn't mention that. It's got an air zoom unit in the heel as well as in the forefoot to provide a little bit of shock absorption as well as energy return, a little bit of bounce to it, kind of like what you get out of the Pegasus 37. So that is something to consider when you're looking at this particular shoe. It has air zoom units in the front and the rear to help with those impacts over the long run. That being said, this shoe is definitely a shoe for longer distance. You will have a little bit of a speed penalty because the midsole foam is, in my opinion, quite a bit softer than what you get on the Floatride Energy. But if you are going to take longer distances, your feet are going to be much more comfortable and thanking you after all those miles. So 10K plus, yes, yes, yes on the Winflo. That's where these shoes kind of differentiate themselves. And because of that, I kind of have to give them a tie between the two. I know that how can it be a tie? Because they're so different and they do them so well. Long run, medium to long run, short to medium run. I mean, they just perform so well in such different category. I can't really say that one versus the other is really better than the other. If I had to pick, I would probably pick the Winflo just because I like to go on long runs. I also don't mind having a slight speed penalty if it means that I'm more comfortable for that longer run. So therefore, I like the Winflo. The Winflo also has a little bit more stability because it is such a wide shoe. When you look at the structure of it, the heel, the forefoot is all very wide. So it's a little bit more stable when you go on your run than what you get out of this. But because this has a much more firmer midsole, I'd say that it's still a really stable shoe just because it doesn't like sink and make you feel unstable going side to side. It's a really incredible midsole to keep you stable. So if I had to go between the two of them, it's kind of a tie when I go with the score. If I had to reach into my closet and grab a pair of shoes on those days where I'm just really tired, but I want to put in some mileage, it's going to be the Winflo. That's going to be my choice. Moving on to the outsoles now. This is where things get really interesting because I think both shoes have some really good positive feedback when it comes to the outsoles here. Now, both are incredibly durable. This is used with a carbon rubber material. This is just kind of a traditional Nike rubber material. That being said, after 30 miles, really not showing a whole lot of use out of this particular shoe right here. Maybe a little bit of wear right in this forefoot area I'm starting to see, but almost like no wear on this particular shoe. This little bit of the same, but a little bit of wear I'm seeing again right in this forefoot area. Just starting to see these little pills starting to wear down a little bit. You have to expect it, but both are incredibly durable outsoles. So they're both evenly matched. Now what it comes down to is in slick weather or wet weather conditions, which one would I pick? Well, I have gotten a chance to run in slick and wet weather conditions in both of these shoes, and I do have to say that even though you look at that tread pattern and you would say, hey, that right there is going to have a ton of grip in wet conditions, surprisingly no. I actually was able to slip on some really slick concrete surfaces. Basically it was like painted concrete, and this did have a little bit of slip to it when I was going through my gait cycle. So every time I kind of went over that patch, I had to kind of slow it down a little bit and make sure that I got my grip, especially going from, basically heel to forefoot. Don't focus so much on that forefoot, kind of do heel to forefoot movement. With the Winflo, back in November, I ran in a tropical storm in this thing, and this thing had a ton of grip. So grip-wise, in the wet, Winflo 7 definitely takes the cake on that one for grip. Now, going for which one would I use in maybe light trail scenarios? That one. This on those light trails, ton of grip, and I'm in Florida, so there's sand, and this has a ton of grip. This one, even though it looks like it would grip a lot, it really didn't seem to have as much grip as I wanted it to have. So that being said, grip wise on light trails, which neither one of these shoes are trail shoes, by the way, but if you have to go on a light trail or into grass, this is the shoe that I would pick for those type of surfaces. So durability, grip, so on and so forth, between the outsoles on these particular shoes, I'm gonna have to give it a slight edge to the Winflo. Very slight edge. It just feels a little bit tackier as far as its grip is concerned. Yeah, it just feels a little tackier than the carbon rubber that's underneath here, but durability wise, they're both going to be, I think, very, very similar to each other, but you can definitely see the wide foot pattern between these two particular shoes. I mean, it's just that drastic. You can see the difference. So comfort, we'll move on to comfort now. Comfort is going to be kind of a mix of the upper, the midsole, the step, so on and so forth, and all of that kind of put together, making a really good shoe. So close, so very close between these two, because the upper is just that good on the Energy 3.0, the Floatride Energy 3.0s. Man, I by a hair, gonna have to go Winflo 7. I think when you step down in the Winflo 7 and you feel that Cushlan foam, you feel those air zoom units really absorb that step down. You just kind of fall in love with it. So, and the in-foot comfort with the uppers and everything, it just, everything put together, I like the feel of the Winflo better, and that just could be a personal opinion, but I like the feel of the Winflo just a little bit better than the overall feel than the Floatride Energy 3.0s. Going on to the ride of the shoe, the Floatride Energy has a rocker design, which really does help move through your gait cycle almost effortlessly to help conserve energy, plus that Floatride Energy midsole with such a high energy return, so much bounce to it, is really something just amazing. So if I had to go with the ride between the two of these, I'm going to go with the ride a little bit better on the Floatride Energy, just because it does help conserve your energy. If you let the shoe do what it's supposed to do, it does help you conserve energy and help you on your run to become just that little bit faster of a runner. So I'm going to go on the ride. We're going to go Floatride Energy. Weight-wise, Floatride Energy wins on the weight. It is, I don't have a weight scale in front of me, but you can just feel the differences between these shoes. The Floatride Energy is just that much lighter. I mean, it's probably an ounce at least lighter than the Winflo 7. So Floatride Energy 3.0 wins on the weight comparison. So overall, tallying everything up based on what I have, my heart still goes to the Winflo. But based on everything that I've done, the Floatride Energy wins this battle. It really is. It is a fantastic shoe. And I love, like I said, I love the Winflo 7. I love the Winflo series. The Winflo 5, Winflo 6, Winflo 7, all great shoes. But this Floatride Energy 3.0, oh my gosh, this is a fantastic shoe. It really is. Again, I prefer a shoe a little bit softer, a little bit, more aimed for a long run. But when I'm really looking at it and when I'm training, this is probably the more versatile shoe to use. So again, Winflo, great shoe, still a good buy, but cost-wise, and I forgot to mention that, cost-wise, $100, $90. This is $10 cheaper. Ooh, is $10, is it really worth the difference? Probably not, I'll be honest with you. So cost-wise, kind of got to give it to Nike, but if you go through Reebok, they always have a discount code, always. So you can get this shoe for a really inexpensive price that basically puts this out of the way. So now that's not saying you can't find this at other retailers for a less expensive price, but if you're going to pick up a shoe straight from the manufacturer, Reebok always offers some sort of discount code, and you can get this shoe for a really inexpensive price. So keep that in mind as well. So cost-wise, I'm gonna have to go with the Reebok Floatride Energy. So therefore, overall winner is the Reebok Floatride Energy 3.0 in this battle of two budget shoes, $100 or less. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please click that like, subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time. And as always, enjoy the run.